Hi everyone. Today I want to talk about signs from our deceased loved ones. Astral projection is not something that's very easy to do, and so if I'm counting on that to be in touch with my deceased loved ones, well then I won't be in touch with them very often, would I? Because I'm not astral projecting every night, although I wish I was. So one way that I found many years back, before I even knew I could astral project, was to ask for signs from my deceased loved ones. And the first time I did this is a pretty funny story, and so I wanted to share that. The first time I asked for signs, my grandfather had been dead for about a week, and I missed him terribly. And he had already sent, signs, and he had already made himself known to be there still in various ways. But that night, I was sad, I was grieving him, I wanted to know how can I communicate with him. So I went online and I asked Google, how do you communicate with the dead? Or some similar question. And it wasn't long before I found, the information I was looking for. And basically what it said out there online was that if you want to communicate with your loved ones, the easiest way is to ask for signs. And that's also an easy way for them to let you know that they still care, that they're still around. And it's easier for them to communicate that way. Dreams are also an easy way to communicate for the deceased. And I'll get into that in another video. But the signs, okay, so I was reading this and I was super excited. I'm like, oh my God. And they were saying, okay, you can ask for any kind of sign. Like you can ask for money signs, like to find coins on your sidewalk or stuff like that. You can ask for flower signs, rainbow signs, feather signs, stuff like that. Like ask for anything you want. It could be anything. Like if you had a special number, you can ask for those numbers. If you... when my dog passed, I'm like, Monsieur, you need to send me signs with branches because he used to love branches, right? So yeah, it said you can ask for anything. And so I was thinking like, oh, okay, I know. Okay. And then, so I know I'm going to ask for money because my grandfather, he was good with money, right? So I'm like, I'm going to ask him for a money sign. So I'm like, Grandpa, I want a money sign. I was in my bedroom. It was late at night. It was 10:50 at night when I asked this. That's why I remember, because I asked, I'm like, oh Grandpa, could you please send me a sign, a money sign? Like you can manifest money anytime from being deceased or alive, you can do that for me. And so it wasn't that I was asking to win $1 million. I was just asking for a money sign so that he could prove that he was still there and he still cared, right? And so it was 10:50 at night. And back then I used to smoke cigarettes and the corner store was going to close in 10 minutes. I'm like, oh man, I'm going to be out of cigarettes. I need to go to the corner store. This is same thing that happened. Like I asked for the sign. I'm like, oh my God, it's 10:50. I need to go to the corner store. So I get up, I put on a jacket and I walk outside. The corner store was 2 buildings away from my place. I live in an apartment. And so I walked over, and as I'm walking, it's dark outside. As I'm walking to the corner store, I'm looking where I'm walking, right? I don't want to trip, it's dark. And I see this thing on the sidewalk. I'm like, what's that? It looked like paper, whatever. And I bend down and I find it was a rolled up $5 bill. Like, what are the odds? Like finding a quarter, I would have been like, I don't know, like I could find a quarter anywhere, but a rolled up $5 bill, like I've never found a dollar bill on the sidewalk, and I found a $5 bill on the sidewalk that day. So I'm like, oh my God, this is so cool. This is so cool. And so throughout the years, that kind of became the sign that if ever I find a $5 bill, which I have a couple of times in the past 10 years, and I just know it's from my grandfather. Just to give you more examples, like the week my dog Monsieur was going to die, I asked him, oh Grandpa, please let me know that you're with us. This is such a hard time. I need a sign that you're with us. And so that week, I was with my daughter when we asked for that, right? And my daughter's the one who found the $5 bills. I was probably way too focused on my dog, but my daughter found, okay, so we were riding, or she found 2 of them, but this is one of them when she was with me. We were riding around with my dog, sitting on my lap in this little town about an hour away from where I live. And it's a really small town. We were driving really slow, just looking outside the window from being sitting inside the car. And my daughter was like, oh my God, Mom, you got to stop the car. And I'm right in the middle of the street. I stop. I'm like, why should I stop the car? And she rushes out of the car and she comes back into the car on the sidewalk across the street. So we're driving across the street. She saw something in the wind or whatever on the sidewalk, and it was a $5 bill. And so she gave it to me because that was the second one she found that week. She had found one, she had kept it for herself, and this was the second one. She's like, Mommy, this is yours. So I had my sign that my grandfather was there. That's not the only time. Once, and this was probably the most awesome, no, they're all awesome. These signs, these $5 signs are really awesome. Last year on Dia de la Muerte, this is a festival in Mexico in honor of our deceased loved ones. And last year is the first time. I'm going to make a video about this. It's going to be out pretty soon. It was the first time I'd known about Dia de la Muerte, and I said, oh, I'm going to make a shrine for all of my loved ones. And one of the things that happened was I had a dream where my grandfather rose from the dead, which is pretty awesome because that's the type of dream you'd expect to get from doing a shrine and asking for visitation from your deceased loved one. But what was even more awesome is that morning, I wake up, I call my mom and my sister, they live in another town. I'm like, oh, I dreamed about Grandpa last night, blah, blah. And then my youngest sister who lives there, who I was calling, says, oh my God, I had a dream too. And what's weird is this was really a shared dream. She was at the same place I was in the dream. And she says, you know, you were coming out of the house and I was on the sidewalk on the other side of the street. This is what she tells me. I was on the sidewalk on the other side of the street and you were coming towards us, and I looked down and I have chills just thinking about it. I looked down and I saw something, and it was like a $5 bill, and I picked it up and you were coming towards me and I was showing you the $5 bill. And so she dreamed about that. But my youngest sister doesn't know that my grandfather sends me $5 bills as signs. She doesn't know that's like Grandpa's sign. But in that dream, we were in the same dream. I was dreaming here, she was dreaming there, and she dreamed that she found a $5 bill and she showed it to me in the dream. I did not see that in my dream because I woke up right before I crossed that street. But yeah, that was another sign from my grandfather that I asked for on Dia de la Muerte. And then finally, there was also that same night, my mom had a vision. She called me right after it happened. She was going to fall asleep and she had a vision of a woman. Her hands were like this. This is not the first time I've seen a woman's hands like this, but the hands were like this, and she was showing my mom a $5 bill. And so, you know, now everyone in the family knows that a $5 bill is like my grandfather's sign. But as money signs go, that's not the only way I've received money signs, either from my grandfather or other deceased loved ones. Like once I was missing my grandfather, it was going to be his birthday that week. And I'm like, oh, I miss you so much, Grandpa. Please send me a sign on your birthday. And the morning of his birthday, I was going out to bring my recycling. I lived in a condo back then. And I was going to put the recycling in the recycling bin. And right in front of the big recycling bin were a bunch of, like, I don't know, 10 different coins. Like right there, who drops 10 coins on the ground and leaves them there? Like the coins were there. The money sign I asked my grandfather for manifested there that day on his birthday. And finally, like my dog, when he died, like I never find coins unless I've asked for them, right? And so when my grandfather died, when my dog, Monsieur, died, I started finding quarters and dimes everywhere. I swear I have a bunch here. Like I think I have $10 worth of dimes and quarters I found since he's died. But in the week after he died, I must have found like 100 coins. In the first month after he died, probably around 100, well, 50. I don't want to exaggerate there, but 50 coins in 1 week, the week after he died. I would find bunches of coins. Like I'd park somewhere and I'd open the door and plenty of coins on the floor. Or I'd go take a walk, find 2 coins there. And very often it was like a quarter with a dime or a quarter with 2 dimes. Once I was even at Walmart. I was paying for my stuff at the self-checkout. And a woman she had already checked out. She was leaving, and then she bends down, she picks up something on the ground, and she tells me, "Oh, ma'am, I think you've dropped this." And she gives me a dime and a quarter. They weren't mine. Like, I don't even have change on me ever. And so, like, these are all the ways that we can receive money signs from our loved ones, which is why I'm focusing on money signs today. But, they say that you can get the signs in ways that you might not expect. So you could get you could ask for a money sign, and then you get a cash back of $10 from a store, and that's your money sign, right? Or you could, see a t-shirt with a dollar sign on it, and that's your sign. So when you ask for a sign, it won't always be the specific manner you're expecting it to receive it, like a physical coin or paper bill or something. It could be some other way, but it still means that they sent you the sign. So if ever you've asked for a sign, it's really important to look for the sign. You can say, "Send me a sign," and then the sign's been there all along and you don't see it. Well, then your loved ones are working really hard for nothing, right? So you have to be looking for the signs. So yeah, so today I wanted to share that. When you can't, find a good psychic to have a reading with your deceased loved ones, or when you can't astral project and go see them on the other side, or when you just want to know, that they're still there, that they're with you, you're going through something, or like, please come and, give me a sign that you're here with me. Asking for signs really works. So I recommend, and that's my personal story to share on that subject. So I hope you enjoyed, and see you in the next one.